We all hand over our personal information, names, addresses, even social security numbers, when we sign up for services or accounts. We trust companies to protect our data, imagining high-tech security and vigilant protection. But for years, that trust was misplaced. Many companies treated our data like forgotten junk in a garage, unsecured and neglected. This carelessness created a playground for hackers who could steal information with ease. When breaches happened, companies often kept it secret, leaving victims exposed and unaware. The result? Criminals gained the keys to our identities, while we remained in the dark. This is the story of how a group of hackers exploited corporate neglect, targeting women in particular, and how their victims fought back. Their struggle sparked a revolution in data privacy that still shapes our digital world. The villains weren't cartoonish masterminds. They were a sophisticated hacking ring, operating like ghosts in the early internet. They targeted companies with weak security, slipping in through phishing emails or malware. Once inside, they raided customer databases for names, social security numbers, and credit card details. The stolen data was sold on the dark web, fueling crimes from fraudulent loans to identity theft. Victims had no idea their lives were being sold off. Companies knew about the breaches but chose silence, fearing lawsuits and bad press. They prioritized their image over customer safety. For years, millions, especially women, carried the risk of identity theft, while corporations hid the truth. The hackers thrived and the victims paid the price. The silence was as damaging as the crime itself. Identity theft isn't just a financial hassle, it's a nightmare that can consume your life. Victims, like single mothers and elderly women, found their accounts drained and their credit destroyed. They faced suspicion from banks and agencies, forced to prove their innocence again and again. The emotional toll was immense: anxiety, fear, and a constant sense of violation. For survivors of domestic abuse, stolen data could expose their new, safe lives, putting them in real danger. Cleaning up the mess meant endless hours on the phone, filling out forms, and fighting bureaucracy. Victims were left to rebuild their lives, often with little help. The company's silence made everything worse. The crime was invisible, but the consequences were devastating. These stories forced the world to see the real cost of corporate neglect. The victim's pain became the catalyst for change. The hacking ring thrived in secrecy until one insider at a data brokerage firm refused to stay silent. This mid-level analyst discovered a massive breach and was told to cover it up. Instead, they gathered evidence and took it to the state attorney general. Their bravery triggered a full-scale investigation. Authorities raided the firm, uncovering years of negligence and deliberate cover-ups. The evidence revealed a web of breaches linked to a single, organized hacking ring. The whistleblower's actions exposed the truth and shattered the wall of corporate silence. Investigators connected the dots, revealing the scale of the crime. The secret was out, and the fight for justice began. One act of courage changed everything. With the truth exposed, the battle moved to the courts. Prosecutors went after the hackers, finally bringing them to justice. But the real revolution came from survivors suing the companies that failed to protect their data. Class action lawsuits argued that companies had a duty to safeguard personal information and that hiding breaches was negligence. Survivors' testimony put a human face on the crisis, turning abstract data into real-world harm. Corporations fought back, claiming they were victims too, but the survivors persisted. Courts began to agree. Companies had to be accountable. These legal victories set new precedents, forcing a shift in corporate responsibility. The survivors' courage changed the law and the culture. The era of secrecy was ending. The courtroom battles sparked public outrage. People demanded to know when their data was compromised. In 2002, California passed the first data breach notification law, requiring companies to inform residents of breaches quickly. This law ripped away corporate secrecy and empowered consumers. Other states followed, creating a nationwide movement for transparency. By the end of the decade, nearly every state had notification laws. These laws gave victims a fighting chance to protect themselves. A notification letter became a call to action, not just a warning. Born from survivors' pain, these laws turned victims into defenders. The balance of power began to shift. Today, companies must notify us when our data is breached, but breaches still happen all the time. The final line of defense is you. Use a password manager to create strong, unique passwords for every account. Turn on two-factor authentication wherever possible. It's your best shield. Check your bank and credit card statements weekly for suspicious activity. Get your free annual credit reports and review them for unauthorized accounts. Consider freezing your credit. It's free, easy, and blocks new accounts from being opened in your name. These steps make it much harder for criminals to use stolen data. The story of these survivors teaches us to demand transparency and take control of your digital life. We can't always trust institutions, but we can protect ourselves. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't wait for disaster to strike. The power to defend your identity is in your hands.